Well, as we have alluded to all morning, we've celebrated and we have spent time celebrating our young people, and even what we did this past week with Vacation Bible School. And Patty gave a great synopsis of what we studied together, journeying through the Psalms. Every day, a psalm was our memory verse. And on Tuesday, we looked at how God knows everything. And we too this morning are going to dive into our own study of just how beautiful and complex that simple VBS point, God knows everything, truly is. You see, we live in a time of much uncertainty and much anxiety. We are easily overwhelmed, and I dare say easily fatigued by things that are too readily at our fingertips, things that are way too much in our faces, between social media, politics, news, conflict. And so I'd like to lay an invitation before you this morning, an invitation to have honest response and honest dialogue with your Creator, an invitation to be honest about wherever you are right now. Maybe it was a struggle getting here this morning. It was for us, for Jackson and I. Nate was out the door. Maybe it was a struggle getting here this morning. Maybe you're anxious about something that's coming up this week. Maybe you've had a really tough few days. Maybe you're in a really dry season where God just feels distant. Maybe you feel like you have more questions than you do answers. Or maybe you just feel numb to life. So where do you need God to meet you this morning? That's my invitation. Where do you need God to meet you this morning? And find honesty in your response to him. You see, the Psalms have always been used as breakthroughs, right? Often used for breakthroughs for people during difficult times. And if we're honest, we've probably been handed this portion of the Psalm, Psalm 139, by a pastor or a friend or a loved one when we ourselves have found ourselves in a difficult situation, in a difficult season. You see, historically, the Psalms were used to help Israel worship God, pray to God, remember God's faithfulness, and express the full range of human emotions before God. They can help teach us how to pray when we don't have the words for ourselves. And for our purpose this morning, the Psalms give God's people permission to bring their real emotions into God's presence, reminding us that honest prayer can lead to self-examination and surrender. You see, Psalm 139 is broken into 4 sections of 6 verses each. And each verse or each section of this psalm, it tells its own narrative about the omni-attributes of God, the things that are unique to him alone. So as we spend time in these words together, we're joining God's people in an ancient practice of bringing the whole of our lives, our thoughts, our fears, our questions, our anger, our gratitude, and our worship into the presence of God, who already knows us completely. We read the first 6 verses together in our responsive reading this morning, but we're going to look at them once more. And they say this. They say, "Oh Lord, you have examined my heart, and you know everything about me. You know when I sit down, when I stand up. You know my thoughts when I'm far away. You see me when I travel and when I rest at home. You know everything I do. You know what I'm going to say even before I say it, Lord. You go before me and follow me. You place your hand of blessing on my head. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too great for me to understand." You see, it's funny because this passage, specifically our first verse, gets one of 2 responses, right? We read, "You know everything about me," and we can think, peace, thank you, Lord. Or we read, "You know everything about me." Ugh. Right? Yikes. Right? It's one of 2 things, and maybe depending on the season of life we're in, will determine what our response looks like. But what we are learning here is that God knows all. He is an omniscient God. And this is the first of our omni-attributes. What this means is that God is all-knowing. His understanding is total, flawless, complete, and infinite. His understanding is encompassing of the past, the present and the future. His understanding is of every hidden thought, action, and possibility across the universe. You see, there's something truly powerful about being known, right? You see, the truth is we can be surrounded by people and still feel misunderstood, still feel invisible. People may know our names, they may know our families, they may know our interests, our accomplishments, they may even know some of our struggles, but there are still parts of us that remain hidden. We're not truly known by everyone around us. The New King James Version of verse 1 says it this way: "O Lord, you have searched me and known me." It does not say you have searched me and therefore you know me. It says, and known me. Past tense, meaning that God's knowledge of the psalmist of David here did not begin after God searched him. There was no investigation of David to discover information that had been previously lacking before God. God searching David revealed David to David. It didn't reveal David to God. You see, when Samuel came to Jesse's home, David's father did not consider him a candidate for kingship, but God already knew David. When David was alone in the field watching sheep, God knew David. When David stood before Goliath, God knew David. When David was hiding in caves from Saul, God knew David. When David became king, when he sinned, when he repented, God knew David. David's circumstances might have changed drastically as time went on, but God's knowledge of David never had to play catch up. J.I. Packer says it this way: "There is tremendous relief in knowing that his love to me is utterly realistic, based at every point on prior knowledge of the worst about me, so that no discovery now can disillusion him about me in the way I am so disillusioned about myself, and quench his determination to bless me." In other words, you won't, you can't, and you haven't surprised him yet. You see, the God who knows and understands everything, literally everything, has chosen to know me. Then we read on in that second section, starting at verse 7. That was so beautifully read for us. Thank you. "I can never escape from your spirit. I can never escape from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I go down to the grave, you are there. If I ride the wings of the morning, if I dwell by the farthest oceans, even there your hand will guide me, and your strength will support me." Translation: he hasn't left. He is omnipresent. He is fully present everywhere, all at once, at all times. This means that no person, no place, no part of our universe is ever outside of God's immediate reach and presence. David goes on to write, "I could ask the darkness to hide me and the light around me to become night, but even in darkness I cannot hide from you." As a summer cadet, oh my goodness, years ago, I was appointed as the team leader of a mission team, the Hands-On Salvation Army mission team that was going to Zambia. And so a team of 8 of us, we traveled to Zambia together. And when we were there, we had this little bus. I think I have a picture of my little bus. And we traveled together on that little bus. I mean, it's big, but for 8 of us and our 2 hosts, we were really in there good. But we traveled from Lusaka to Chikinkara to Livingstone to Chingola. We traveled everywhere. And then we had this little trailer that was on the back, because with all of us in there, there was no way we were fitting our luggage in there. So we had this little trailer. And in the trailer, when we were leaving one location and going to another, we would load up our luggage and strap it in and be on our way. Well, one night we were leaving Lusaka and headed towards Chirundu after an evening praise meeting at a core. And I vividly remember being in this core building, stepping outside, and looking up and seeing the most stars I had ever seen in my life. You see, At that point in time, I had always lived within 40 miles of Manhattan, of New York City. So to see a world without light pollution, a world without street lights, it wrecked me in the most beautiful way. The sky sparkled like I'd never experienced. And we got to the van, and I opened my Bible to Psalm 19:1 that says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands," because I saw it in a way I'd never seen it before. And I just wrote Zambia. So every time I'm flipping through the Psalms, I remember that moment. But after our service, after this beautiful encounter with darkness, we piled in our van, and we were headed to Chirundu. And it was late at night, and as we were driving, the only visible light, there was nothing around us, the only visible light were the headlights of this van as we were headed the direction we were going. And at one point, our host officers shout to us in the back. He says, "Can someone look behind us and see if the luggage trailer is still there?" And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a possibility, like it wasn't there. So the only way to look, because we're looking out the window, I'm not like slick or my dad says, "You're not cool, Loreita." Like I don't go well with the flow. So I'm looking out the back window, right? And the only way to see what was back there was for him to lightly tap the brake to see the red light reflected on the back. So he lightly taps the brake, and there I see the trailer and someone chasing us, someone running after us, after our trailer. I'm not cool, right? I screamed, probably made everyone think something much worse was happening. I screamed that there's someone following us, so he chuckles at me, which happened a lot that time, and goes faster on this dirt road. And so I'm like, by sure this trailer's coming off now if it hasn't. So we go further, and we do the same thing. He says, "All right, check." So I'm looking, he taps the brakes. Oh, someone's still there, keep going. So we did this until this person was so far off in the distance that there was no way they were gonna catch up. But when David says, "Surely the darkness will hide me," that's the darkness I imagine, right? This kind of all-encompassing darkness where you have no idea what's on your left or your right or behind you or in front of you. You have no clue what is near you. All-encompassing darkness. And yet, but even in the darkness, I cannot hide from you. You see, our God of omniscience is fully present everywhere, all at once, at all times. He can see the entire timeline of our life from one bird's eye vantage point, while also being present in our specific situation. You see, David knew what it was to run. He ran from Saul. He hid in caves. He moved from place to place. But God's presence isn't something that we need to escape. It's something we need to trust. Why? Because he is already at the place of the person you are becoming. And he knows exactly what is needed from us to shape us into the person, to form us into the person that he already knows we will be. And the Apostle Paul writes about this in Romans. He says, "And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters." This past week, as I was studying for this passage, I read about a relation between Psalm 139 and this verse from Romans, and it really shook me. So I hope you stay with me and you are blessed by this concept as well. As we start to consider who God is and what the psalm is revealing about his character, that he knows all, that he is with you in all, when we say all, we are talking about those all things that Paul is talking about here in Romans. So what is your all? If God is fully present in all that we face, what are your all things? And be honest, right? Is it disappointment? Whether in yourself, in someone else, maybe in God? Are you anxious? Are you overwhelmed? Are you depressed? What is your all things? And be honest with the Lord. Sometimes we hold back and we don't ask the hard questions of God, but do it. How in the world could God use my anger? How in the world could God use my depression? How in the world is God going to use my anxious spirit, my anxious thoughts, my anxiety for his good? But Paul doesn't leave it there, right? He gives us verse 29 and he redefines what is good. Matt Chandler said this: comfort is the God of our generation. So suffering is seen as a problem to be solved rather than a providence from God. Because the world and society tells us that good is comfortable, that good is easy, that it's happy, that it's successful. So when life is comfortable or my family is good, my family is happy, or our budget balances, God must be working for my good. But Paul keeps going in verse 29. He says, for those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed. Not comfortable, not happy, not even content, but conformed. Conformed to what? Conformed to the image of his Son. You see, it's not that life gets more comfortable. It's that God uses our all things. Insert your own word there. God uses that to conform me more to the image of his Son. Scripture never says it will be easy or painless. You see, the wilderness was probably one of the most formative seasons for David. He was anointed king, but he wasn't living like a king. He was running, he was hiding, he was uncertain. The wilderness stripped away every illusion that David had about control. And sometimes our own wilderness teaches us that we don't need to know what God is doing in order to trust who God is. David's encounter with Goliath taught him that strength wasn't ultimately size or weapon or military ability. That battle taught David that victory belongs to God. Goliath shaped David into someone who trusted God when fear ultimately would have been easier. Even there, your hand will guide me, and your strength will support me. David goes on to write, you made all the delicate inner parts of my body. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous, how well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion. As I was woven together in the dark of the womb, you saw me before I was even born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. You see, our God is all powerful in creation. He is the omnipotent God. He is able to do all things that align with his holy will, his holy character, his holy logic. He has supreme power over our physical universe and the spiritual realms. God spoke into the void of nothingness, and out of his breath, the universe came into existence. My son has very told me what my morning breath does to him. Very not kindly. In Isaiah chapter 6, we get a glimpse of that vision given to Isaiah. I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on the throne, with the train of his robe that filled the temple. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. 2, they covered their faces. 2, they covered their feet. And 2, they were flying. And they were calling to each other what we sang this morning. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. When I dwell on this image, where day and night, night and day, the angels cannot stop singing and acknowledging the holiness of God, the awe and worship and wonder of his holiness being proclaimed. And then I read these verses that David wrote in Psalms. You made me. You made me in my delicate inner parts of my body. You knit me. You wove me together. The creator of the universe, unmatched in power, unmatched in authority, had an intimate involvement in the creation of Loreita. We can easily consider his majesty and create a divide between him and us, because sometimes the bigger we make God in our mind, the further away he seems. But his greatness does not make him less personal. And that's the theological wonder about God's omnipotence, is that God, who is so infinitely above us, is also so intimately involved with us. That the God who is infinitely great is also intimately near. That the God who holds the galaxies in his hand was attentive to David before David even opened an eye. That the God who was great enough to create everything, is personal enough to form you. And the only appropriate response to that is what we read in that psalm. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So we've heard most of this passage of scripture in the meeting today, but I specifically left the last out. And if you read on, you were like, ooh, what's happening here? Because it changes, right? We go on to read, oh God, if you would only destroy the wicked. What a change. Get out of my life, you murderers. They blaspheme you. Your enemies misuse your name. Oh Lord, shouldn't I hate those who hate you? Shouldn't I despise those who oppose you? Yes, I hate them with a total hatred, for your enemies are my enemies. Sheesh, that kind of changes the whole tone of the passage, doesn't it? David is angry, and he's bringing that raw and honest emotion before the Lord in this psalm, in this prayer. In fact, if we were to read the psalm backwards, starting with this last section, the whole mood of the psalm changes, right? Oh God, if you would only destroy the wicked. You know when I sit down, you know when I stand up. I can never get away from your presence, right? There's a shift in the tone. It's almost like the child who is just so over a nagging parent. The reality is we don't have any true rationale for why David is upset, but we can speculate. Maybe he's so sick of seeing people who oppose God, who reject him, who treat his name with contempt, and he's trying to have vengeance for God's honor. That would fit his character, right? Even when he faced Goliath, what bothered him was not simply that Goliath was insulting himself, insulting David. What offended him was that Goliath was defying the living God. Maybe he is really just done dealing with wicked people. After all, people have betrayed him. Enemies surrounded Israel. Saul pursued him. Maybe he's just done. But maybe we're overcomplicating it. And maybe David was just human. Maybe instead of dissecting this and even trying to discern his tone, the message is this. God simply wants us to be real with him. Maybe he wants us to bring to him the things we've been carrying quietly. The frustrations that we don't know how to explain. The exhaustion that has worn us down. The anger we've been afraid to admit. The worries that just keep running loops in our minds. Maybe we need to just stop trying to protect God from the emotions that he created us with. You see, God isn't threatened by our honesty, and this is what we read here. He isn't surprised by our emotions, and we don't have to pretend that everything's okay when it's not. Because God would rather have honest hearts than carefully rehearsed words. Because check this out. David ends right back where he started. Right? He comes full circle. Even in the anger, he comes full circle. Search me, O God. Know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you. And lead me along the path of everlasting life. He ends right back where he started. And so I want to do likewise this morning with that same invitation to honest dialogue with your Creator. Where do you need to meet God this morning? Being honest with God doesn't mean that every emotion that we feel is correct, right? Anger can be misplaced. Fear can distort our perspective. Frustration can cause us to say things we later regret. But we don't have to hide those emotions from God in order for him to work in us. We can bring them into his presence and say, God, this is where I am. These are my anxious thoughts. These are my fears. These are my worries. This is my anger. Help me understand it. Help me surrender it. Help me see what you see. You see, God doesn't waste any season. The giant in your life or the giants in your life are not wasted. The wilderness that you're experiencing is not wasted. The cave you feel you need to hide in for protection for yourself is not wasted. Our failures, our depression, our anxieties, our anger is not wasted when we hand it over to the Lord and allow him to restore. God can use every season to make us more dependent on him, more humble, more loving, more faithful, more like the character we ultimately see perfectly in Jesus.